Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Jordan Mendoza, founder and CEO of Blaze Your Own Trail Consulting. He's an author, keynote speaker, father of six, and host of the globally top ranked podcast Blaze Your Own Trail. After building a personal brand that has reached millions of people, Jordan now helps entrepreneurs and companies grow through marketing, sales, leadership, and authentic connection. His journey has been shaped by resilience, setbacks, and a passion for helping others create opportunities and build meaningful success. Jordan, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Hey, thanks so much, Sekani, for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience.
All right, wow. So yes, thank you, Jordan. And I want you to take us back, right, to your 20s, basically. So what were your 20s like? And what dreams did you have back then?
Oh man, it's crazy to reflect back on that now because I turned 20 in February of 2000 and life
Mm.
was looking great. I was getting ready to travel across the country and open a new office for the sales company I was with. And but as sometimes setbacks can stop us in our tracks. And so in April of 2000, 26 years ago, this April, we were traveling across the country. We were going to go open an office in New Jersey. And the truck that I was in, my buddy that was driving fell asleep at the wheel. And when he
Mm.
fell asleep at the wheel, it was about 4 in the morning. He woke up and instead of hitting the brakes, he hit the gas and he overcorrected the wheel. So we were sliding at about 70 miles an hour on the freeway. The truck started flipping multiple times. It finally lands, and when it lands, the area where my buddy, the driver, was, there was a hole in the windshield, and he was ejected from the
Mm.
truck. And so, as you can imagine, we're frantic. We're getting out of the vehicle. We're trying to find our friend, and we find him. He was about 25 yards from where the truck landed, and he stood up like a zombie, and then he fell back on the
Mm.
ground, and we knew he was seriously injured. And while this whole thing was going down, I started to smell a very thick iron smell, and I reached down on my own right leg, and when I grabbed it, Sakani, my hand went in about a fist deep. I had a cut, a massive 12-inch cut on my right leg. I had an 8-inch cut on
Mm.
my left leg, and I was losing pints of blood. And luckily, we had some off-duty EMTs that happened to stop by the scene. They were able to call ambulance. I was rushed to the hospital, had to have laser surgery, had to rebuild the muscle on my right leg, and was actually told I may not walk again. So if you think about, February was looking great. February, I was able-bodied, could run, could jump and swim, and here I am in April, getting told that I may not be able to walk again. So two very different times, 2 months apart. And after the accident, that's really where the real work began because I had to, when you're given this news that, hey, you may not be able to walk again. I was very motivated, like, hey, that's not going to be me. I am going to be able to walk again, and I am going to push hard. And it was a lot of rehab. And by the grace of God, I made a 6 month recovery, full recovery. And for the last 26 years since then, I can run, I can jump, I can swim, I'm breakdancing, I'm very active, and you wouldn't even be able to tell that I had that accident.
Mm. Wow. I just want to say it's a miracle, right, that you're still here with us today. And wow. All right. So yes, thanks for, sharing your story with us. And looking back, what were like some of the biggest struggles you faced, like apart from, the accidents you had, right? What were the biggest struggles you faced in that season of your life?
Oh man, that was a hard season. The struggles I faced were obviously the pain,
Mm.
the being able to not do all the things that I could do, gaining weight that sucked. I put on a bunch of weight, and And so
Mm,
my confidence levels went down, right? So all those things that
mm,
happen when you start to kind of your body starts to change and shift, and I couldn't really do anything about it, right? Because I had to go through this healing process. So if I'm being completely transparent, it sucked. Like it was hard. It was not a fun season, but I'm fortunate to have a lot of people, a lot of prayer warriors. You know, there was a lot of people praying for me at my church, my family, and so faith is what got me through. And, you know, whenever we go through trials and hardships, it even says in the Bible that
mm,
we're to consider it all joy. And
right.
when you're in it, it's not easy to do. You know, when you're in that season, the last thing you want to think of is joy. But if I reflect back, I have so much support and so many people that were with me, and that means a
Mm.
lot. It means a lot when you're going through a hard season.
Oof, all right. Like you said, consider it all joy, right? It's there in the Bible, but like you said, it's not easy at all. It isn't easy, but it's possible at the end
That's
of the
it.
day. It's possible, right? So yes, I want us to, talk about building through anxiety, right? So, was there a moment where you felt like, you were giving up or and what helped you keep going? I know you mentioned faith, right? Faith, I know faith was one of the major things that helped you. But were there other practices that you did, to help you keep going?
Yeah, so it's just about staying positive. I got it honestly through my mom. So my mom was born
Mm,
in the 50s with one lung. And so her whole life she fought to breathe. She had to use oxygen. She was in and out of the hospital. She almost died multiple times when I was a kid. And she was told basically she wouldn't live to 18 and she wouldn't be able to have kids. And she lived to 54 years old and she had five boys. So she did really well with the hand that she was dealt. And so I got to see her example of resilience my whole life. And so I got kind of got it like, hey, if something happens, it's not the end of the world. We have a choice in how we react and we respond. Are we going to be a victim or are we going to be a victor, right? Are we going to have this kind of pity party and keep ourselves down, or are we going to push hard to try to change our circumstances, And so having her as a role model and an example and someone that I saw literally fight for her life to actually just be able to breathe, I think that was very helpful to have that person in my life to see, because when things happen to me, I'm like, what excuse can I make? She only has one lung. Like she's been fighting this whole time. I don't really have any
mm,
excuses. I need to push through.
mm. Wow. All right. So yes, thank you, Jordan. Your story is one of resilience, I would say. It takes strength to be able to, push through in such hard times, and you did regardless, right? So I want to touch on the fact that you're a father, right? So, what role has fatherhood played in your growth as, a man and an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, fatherhood is one of the greatest responsibilities,
Mm,
and especially for us. You mentioned miracles earlier. Well, when I first met my
mm,
wife in 2003, and we started to really build a bond and a relationship, she started telling me some terrible things that happened to her when she was a young girl. And because of those things that happened to her, the doctors, multiple doctors, told her there's too much damage. You're not going to be able to conceive. And man, when I tell you, Sekani, when she told me that, I was heartbroken because I wanted to be a father, but I
mm,
just I just gave it to God and just said, hey, listen, if this is meant to be, then we're just gonna build this relationship. And a
mm,
very short period of time in, she actually ended up getting pregnant, and so I
mm.
was like, wait a minute, like I thought you weren't supposed to be able to have kids, So I go
Wow.
from kind of like disappointment to now getting excited, and a couple months in, she started to actually feel some pain in her side, and she went
Mm,
to the doctor, and unfortunately, she had a miscarriage. So, man, you can imagine just the roller coasters of, hey, not going to be able to have kids, to wait a minute, it's a possibility, to
exactly.
now the life is
Mm,
gone. I mean, so we went through the
mm,
roller coaster world, and we ended up just having to give it up to God and saying, listen, if this was meant to be, then we'll just,
okay.
it's in your will, And
Mm,
fortunately for us, about 4 months later, she got pregnant with our oldest, who's now almost 22 years old, Jaden.
Hmm.
And we now have four beautiful boys and two beautiful girls, six
Wow.
children. And if you look at what the doctor said, they said that none of them were supposed to be here. So all miracle
Hmm.
babies, they're all a blessing. And fatherhood has made me realize that it's not all about me.
Hmm.
That we have to think of someone other than ourselves. And that's what happens when you become a parent. It goes from the everything's about you and your spouse to holy cow, there's eyeballs looking at me and I got to figure out how to do this. you know, and there's no
Right.
instruction manual and we have no twins. They're all six individual kids and they're all different
Wow.
personalities and nobody prepares you for that.
Hmm. Wow. Honestly, I'm just so happy with your story, right? And like I said, it was a roller coaster of emotions, but at the end of the day, miracle happened, right? I would
That's it.
say, right here, we say God did. I mean, at the end of
A
the
hundred
day,
percent. Yeah, you
God
can't
did.
tell me. Yeah, I'm a testimony of miracle after miracle after miracle. You can't tell me God
Exactly.
isn't real. You can
And
try,
honestly.
but I've seen it. I've literally seen
Mm.
it, and I've seen it, and I've seen it over and over and over again.
Again, wow, exactly. Well, I mean, with your stories that you told us, it has been God all the way. I mean, it's miracles upon miracles, right? So
Yeah,
personally,
I got stung by 53 bees in fourth grade. I should not be here.
Hmm.
I was beaten and falsely arrested at 12 years old by police. I should not be here.
Oh,
There's
wow.
so many circumstances and stories that I tell people, and they're like, "How are you still alive?" And I'm like, "God is good. He apparently
Right,
has had a bigger purpose for me."
exactly, right. Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah, I think you should write a book, or
Oh,
you
that
have a book,
actually,
right?
yeah, my book can be found on Amazon. You ready for the title? It's
Right.
called The Life-Changing Power of Adversity.
Hmm. Wow.
Yes, how to
And
overcome struggles, unlock your
hmm.
potential, and blaze your own trail to
Right.
success. So
Hmm.
I cover a lot of personal stories, setbacks, failures, losses, and then show you
Hmm.
how I was able to overcome them and how you can too.
Right, exactly. Wow. All right. So yes, thank you, Jordan. And we're actually going to be, diving into how to overcome, adversities actually. So first of all, before we get to that, how did you discover the power of, creating content, right, and building relationships online?
Yeah, I think I was kind of an early adopter in social media. I joined MySpace back in 2004, I believe, and I started to build an audience there before I even knew what social media was. And then Facebook came out and I built an audience there. So I've always had this ability to understand technology pretty quickly. And I've always also had the ability of communication. I started doing door-to-door sales at 14 years old. I would go talk to 100 people at their homes every single day. And that was worth its weight in gold because when you understand how to read people, how to communicate with people effectively, how to tell stories, how to build relationships, then content is easy at that point, right? Because
Mm.
what is content? It's just you sharing something with someone else and doing it
Mm.
in a way that gets them to buy into what you're saying. And so if I go online tomorrow and I start talking about my car accident, guess what? That's a story and that'll create
Mm.
curiosity and that might get people to go, "Wow, let me check this guy out or let me see what he's all about," right? So content really is just you showing up with your God-given talents, gifts and abilities to encourage, motivate, inspire, or to try to attract somebody to you.
Wow. Whew. All right. So yes, thank you for, sharing that beautiful one with us actually. And talking about building through adversity, right? And sorry, what talking about what you're doing today, basically. So what inspired you to, blaze your own trail?
Yeah, so actually, it's a funny story that it's a little backwards than most people's story because
Mm.
I started my podcast Blaze Your Own Trail on January 1st, 2020. So not
Mm.
knowing there was going to be this global pandemic that was going to shut down the world, but it ended up being a big gift because Guess who was home? Everybody. So
Yeah.
I had access to multimillionaires, to authors, to speakers, to pretty much anyone that I wanted to, because all I had to say is, I know you're not going anywhere. You might as well have a great conversation with me, and let's get to know
Mm,
each other, you know? So
right.
I looked at it as an advantage, and
Mm,
my show really picked up a lot of steam during the pandemic.
mm,
And so by the time 2021 hit, I had already had all these really, really big experts and authors and uh, people I respected. That all of them had the same question for me: Jordan, why don't you have your own business? Why haven't you started your own thing yet? And I
mm,
started thinking about that, Sakani. I was like, you know what? I'm a pretty big hypocrite here. I got a podcast. It's
mm.
called Blaze Your Own Trail, and here I am in
Oh.
corporate, not blazing my trail. Like I'm getting in the same role for 8 years. They're not promoting me. They don't value me. So
Mm,
what am I doing? You know? And so I had to kind of muster up the courage and say, you know what? I'm already coaching people on the side. I'm already building this brand. Like I need to bet on myself, and I need to go blaze my own trail. And
mm,
so I decided in 2021, they gave me no severance. They gave me nothing. I was with that company 15 years, blood, sweat, and tears, building that
mm,
business. And I turned in my notice, and all I got was a, hey, thanks for your service. See you later. Like that was it. And so I kind of knew I made the right decision there. And I really did not look back, and the rest is history. And now I've got four companies. One of them's in
mm,
Belgium. Two of them are startups. I've got a coaching business. I've got a podcast, and life has been great after I decided to step out into my purpose, which is going and helping people.
mm. Right. Wow. Oof. Permits me to say this is also a miracle, right? I mean, starting your own business. And yeah, you've built something already, right? So what advice do you have for, young people, right, trying to build something? Where should they actually focus first?
Yeah, your focus should be the reps. It's
Mm,
and when I say the reps, it's like when you go to the gym. If you want to gain muscle, you're not just going to keep eating the same amount of food. You have to add more
mm,
food if you want to build
mm,
muscle, right? If you want to
mm,
lose fat, you can't just go to the gym and stand there. You have to move your body, right? So
mm,
everything in life that we do, it's all about the reps that we're putting in. So if you want to get people interested in an invention, a product, an idea, a podcast, a book, anything, you need to get good at communicating about it. You need to talk about it early and often. You need to go knock on doors, physical doors, digital doors, DM people. And also just say, hey, I've got something that I'm building. I'd love to share it with you, because you'd be surprised at how many people are willing to listen. But the
mm,
problem is, a lot of people aren't willing to ask if people are willing to listen. And when I grew up really poor, food stamps, government housing, secondhand clothes. So I know that closed mouths do not get fed. If I wanted to go get something, I had to be resourceful. I had to go knock on doors and collect cans for a nickel so I could get 5 cans and go buy a piece of candy. So you better
mm,
believe it's the same mentality in business. You only eat what you kill, right? So if I'm not out and I'm not having conversations and I'm not building relationships, then there's not going to be any food on the table. Guess what happens if there's no food on the table? Then there's no
mm.
one that's going to eat. And if no one eats,
Right.
then how are you going to have the energy to build a business, right? So you have to put in the reps. It has to be a daily thing where you're out and you're talking about what you're building and you're sharing it with people. And
Mm,
over time, that compounded effort is going to turn into results. And I'll give you the easiest framework on the planet.
mm,
Action creates momentum.
mm.
Momentum creates consistency. Consistency creates habits, and habits turn into results. So if you can focus on taking action first, that sets the ground rules for everything else that's to come.
Ah, oof, all right. Wow. Thank you, Jordan. Personally, I would say I'm learning a lot, right? That I think I'm gonna, start putting into my daily life. For instance, the creating content, right? Pushing yourself out there. It just creates room for authenticity, and people, can resonate with you. And another thing, people can trust you right? Because they literally watch you grow, so they can actually trust you, and it just makes building a business easier, honestly. So, wow, thank you, Jordan, for that beautiful one. And I'd like to ask before I ask my final question, right? What habits or mindsets have helped you stay consistent? Because I feel like consistency is another thing. To be consistent, that's a whole new thing entirely. So, what has helped you stay consistent over the years?
Yeah, so it's always remembering your why. Why do you do the
Mm,
things you do every day? My why is my kids, it's my future grandkids and my great grandkids. It's all the people that I will be able to potentially create impact for that I will actually never meet.
mm,
So when your why is bigger than your how, you're going to get
mm,
somewhere.
mm. Your why, right? Wow, remembering your why, just like you've said. Wow, okay. And Jordan, finally, this is more of the future, right? So looking ahead, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sakani. And I'm going to share with you something that one of my mentors from afar shared with me.
Mm,
He said that I want to plant seeds for trees that I will never sit under. And
mm,
that's really the legacy that I want to lead as well, right? I want to plant so many seeds that I will never be able to see the trees and the fruit that they produce or the people that will actually be underneath them, but just knowing that eventually they will grow.
mm, mm. Ooh, right, like you said, plant seeds for tree that's we would never sit on that. I mean, that one is tough, honestly. Well, yeah. Oh, all right. So thank you, Jordan. And this brings me to the final segment of my podcast. I call it the rapid fire segment, right? You could either answer with a word or a phrase starting now. So, what is one word that describes your journey?
Trailblazer,
Hmm. Okay. So, sales or social media?
sales,
Wow. Okay. All right. So, morning, are you a morning person or, a night owl?
both actually.
Okay. So what is a book that changed your life?
Oh man, so many books changed my life. The one I would say that has created the most profound impact has got to be Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Hmm. Think and Grow Rich. And finally, what's bringing you the most joy right now?
It's building my coaching platform for entrepreneurs, coaches, speakers, podcasters, actors. That's been so joyful. I started building it in January. I launched it in
Mm,
March, and now we've got over 168 entrepreneurs on the platform. It's the first platform that combines live coaching with networking, AI tools, and business tools all in one.
ooh, oh, right. So, talking about your coaching platform, right? Where can people actually, access it?
Yeah, it's super easy if they just go to byotgroupcoaching.com. Anyone can sign up for a free account. That gets you access to the call library, our weekly calls, our directory. And then we also have paid tools for a nominal fee that give you more
Mm,
access to AI tools and business tools to help you grow your business and scale your business. So it's a
wow.
really fun platform. If you love learning, growing, networking, I definitely invite you, Sakani, to try it out and all your audience. Again, it's
Mm,
completely free to join. And then if you're getting value and you want to invest in the tools to help you accelerate your business, then you can check those out as well.
wow. Okay, thank you, Jordan. Personally, I would be checking it out, honestly. And thank you for, sharing your story and reminding us that, setbacks don't have to stop us from creating something meaningful. Right. So thank you, Jordan. And I'm going to put the link in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And to my listeners, I want to say thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Once again, thank you, Jordan, and do have a wonderful day ahead of you.
Hey, my pleasure. I just want to say, Sekani, you do a great job. And one thing I
Mm,
would leave with you and your audience is the struggle might be real, but the good
mm.
news is that every struggle comes with a free gift called a lesson.
Ooh, all right. That was powerful, by the way. Oh, thank you, Jordan. This
My
is
pleasure.
amazing. Like I said, and do take care of yourself.
You too. Have a great day.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.